Namaste. I wanted to read this book, Samsara Dog, for a special friend who's had to deal with the loss of 2 pets. And without further explanation or ado, Samsara Dog by Helen Manos, illustrated by Julie Vivas. Samsara Dog lived many lives. Some of his lives were very long. Some lasted only a few days. Dog never remembered them, but sometimes the sound of low chanting flitted across his memory and puzzled him for a moment. Coming back again and again was how it was meant to be. Dog lived each life as it came until finally he learned the most important lesson of all. In one of his lives, Dog lived on the street. It stank of old men in old coats and tomcats with whiskers stiff as swords. Dog ruled the street. He sniffed the tracks of the cunning cats. He sorted out the other dogs. Those were the cunning cats in the background. He bared his broken teeth in their faces until they ran off howling. Sometimes when the moon stared down and the street was quiet, one of the old men would call, "Dog, get over here, will you?" But Dog would only slit his melon-colored eyes and turn away. Dog loved nobody. Dog trusted nobody. Dog lived only for himself. There's Dog. One night, stretched out on an old sack, Dog felt more weary than he'd ever felt before. He closed his eyes and drifted peacefully away. Dog came back to live with a biker gang that smelled of animal skins and grease. The bikers brawled with other gangs. Dog tore around, snapping and growling at their heels. When he was with the pack, he could smell danger. Dog loved danger. It made his blood run hot. The bikers chased each other up and down roads, looking for trouble. Riding on the front of the bike, with the wind screaming in his teeth, Dog howled his joy of loud. One night, the wail of a siren silenced through the darkness. The bikers sped up. Roads and trees blurred. The bike swerved and reared up like a wild thing. Dog felt himself fly through the air, and as he went, he howled at the wide night sky. That wave of emotion surprised me. He came back as a sniffer dog. He sniffed his way along airport corridors and inside kitchens where rats scratched behind greasy walls. He sniffed boots, skin, and belly-crunching fear. Fear was the worst. It thrashed inside him like a trapped bird. It made him want to bite. "You're so wild," his trainer said. "Come here, Dog." But Dog turned his back. Dog loved nobody. Dog lived for himself. Dog worked until the day he died. As he floated off, he felt his trainer's warm hand stroking him on his way. Dog was born very small and very sick. His tiny eyes never opened. He heard low chanting and a gentle voice say, "Sometimes life is a terrible struggle, little dog. Sometimes we only manage to arrive before we have to move on again." Dog tried to hold on, but the thin thread of his life was fast unraveling. "Don't be afraid. Coming back again and again is how it must be," said the gentle voice. "When it's time, you will know great love. Go and learn what you must learn." And the sound of chanting carried him off. Dog shared his next life with a street juggler. Day after day, the juggler stood on the street and tossed balls like loose-colored lips. No, what? He tossed balls like long-colored loops into the sky. Sometimes they slipped through his fingers and rolled away. Then no one gave him money, when no one gave him money, Dog went hungry. One damp afternoon, as the juggler sent the balls flying high into the air, Dog jumped and caught each one in his mouth. People stopped to watch. Dog turned and danced in dizzy circles. The crowd laughed. Someone dropped coins on the ground. That night, the juggler wrapped his arm around and sighed, "I am glad you are here, Dog." People came from all around to see Dog. His dizzy dance made everyone smile. One day, Dog laid on his blanket, too tired to move. The juggler held him in his arms and cried as his friends looked away. He came back as a rescue dog on an old craggy mountain. When avalanches crashed down the mountain, the dog rescue team sniffed through icy layers looking for survivors. Each time they found someone, the other dogs were praised and kissed, but Dog's owner never praised him. He spent most of his time skiing in the mountains. Left alone, Dog watched and he waited. All around him, vast slopes fell away like frosty waterfalls. The low hum of the alpine wind carried snatches of old songs and distant memories. A heaviness crept inside of Dog. He had never felt like this, not in all his lives. He opened his mouth and cried, and the sound tumbled off the lonely mountainside. One night, Dog felt a familiar stiffness in his bones and whimpered. "Poor dog," his owner said. "You've worked long and hard, and I've never thanked you." He put his arms around the dog and kissed him on the nose, and with that last breath, Dog kissed back. Hang in there. Dog moved on through a tunnel of light to his next life in a big house with 4 girls who adored him. They dressed him in sunglasses, tiaras, feather bows, and stuck stars in his hair. They fought to sit next to him and to have them sleep on their beds. They took him to ballet classes and taught him to do pirouettes. When the smallest sugar plum fairy fell sick with chicken pox, Dog took her place and everyone laughed. Dog ate cream puffs, golden fudge, and chocolate whenever he wanted. His hips grew stiff and his stomach grew round. On the night Dog lay dying, the 4 girls held him and sobbed. Dog was born in a boat shed. His first memory was of someone singing. He crawled off to find the sound. And Dog found the boy. The boy sneaked Dog into his bedroom and gave him a biscuit. "I'm going to keep you, but you have to learn to eat everything. Mom says we can't afford to have a pet." Dog settled beside a fuzzy bear that smelled of the boy's good smells. The boy grew fast. He threw himself down sand hills. He tore through creamy waves that washed back on themselves. He hummed through his days like a kite, and tripping beside him like a small clumsy shadow was Dog. "You're my best friend," the boy said. And Dog's heart galloped. At night, they squashed together under a blanket. The boy read stories until his eyes closed and his head tipped sideways. Curled up like 2 spoons, Dog and boy caught each other's dreams. Dog grew strong. Soon he could run down the sand hills and swim through the creamy waves. One afternoon, when Dog was chasing a tribe of gulls, the boy flung himself down a sand hill and crashed to the beach below. Dog licked the sand off his eyes and tried to help him up, but the boy didn't move. When the first star appeared, people came and carried the boy away. Days and nights passed. The sharp smell of fear hung around the house. The boy's skin tasted like cold sand. Dog never took his eyes off of him. And one day, the boy opened his eyes and called, "My dog, where's my dog?" "My boy's come back," sobbed his mother. But Dog cried little sad cries because he knew not all of the boy had come back. His eyes were as milky as jellyfish. Dog took charge. The boy didn't need his eyes. He could sniff his way around. "Look," Sniff here, Dog sang throatily. This is where wild cats have trod. This is where gulls with rusty feet have rested. The boy laughed and held Dog's strong neck. Dog led the boy along the sand. He stayed with him all the long summer days, guiding him through the waves and then bumping him back up to shore. At night, the boy told Dog stories about pirates and sailing ships and mermaids. When he was with the boy, Dog's heart skimmed like a song. He loved the boy more than he loved himself. The boy grew up. He wrote stories and read bits of them aloud. Dog lay by the fire and listened. Sometimes when the stories didn't go well, the boy threw the pages on the floor. Dog chewed them up, and that made him laugh. Years passed. Dog hardly ever went outside now. Nothing was better than being with the boy. One evening, as Dog came to the end of his life, the boy slipped his arms around his neck. There's something I have to tell you, he said. Once there was a dog that lived many lives. He came to live with a small boy. When there were only dark clouds in the boy's life, the dog gave him hope. When the boy was lost and afraid, his dog gave him comfort and the gift of great love. Dog looked lovingly into the boy's blurred face. A deep calm settled inside him, his heart filled with trust and joy. Wrapped in the boy's arms, Dog felt himself grow lighter. And he never came back again. So everything can't be uplifting all the time. But death is part of life. It's universal, it's a commonality. And there's only so much we can understand in this human construct. And there's also so much more that we can't understand. And I think being able to understand that there's things that we can't understand about life and about death, it helps to come to acceptance, at least, that this is what's happening. This is where we are. Feel it to heal it is always my go-to advice. I also have a new mantra that I'm working with, which is, I needed this. So whenever something really hard is happening, I'm dealing with something, I'm just remind myself, I needed this. I needed this to happen. The seeds of joy are inside the seeds of suffering. So see if you can allow yourself to feel the pain. And then when you fight against that pain, that's when suffering begins. When you start to just accept that pain that you're feeling, that, wow, I'm feeling this way, then you're feeling it, you're healing it, and it starts to transform. Not into joy right away, but into allowance and acceptance, and then you can rest more, thinking about the times that you had instead of the times that are lost.